my apologies for anything I do wrong, but as long as you're going to keep me straight. Apologies from Councillor Newton and Councillor Sykes. Do we have reasons? Well, I think Councillor Newton's on holiday.
They're just not available for the meeting.
Yes, right, not available for the meeting. Do we have to accept?
Yes, please.
We do accept.
Everybody okay?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any declarations by members?
You've missed the beginning.
Oh, I have. Sorry. Yes, let's start again. Yes, Mick Burgess. I think he'd done such a lot for the village, and he sort of brought different strands of the village together over several decades, which I thought was quite skillful, and he could take anybody's views into account, and was always, sympathetic and sensible about it all. And I think he's, in his own little way, was a great man. So it's a sad passing.
Not only that, he's one of the only very few, I think it's 4 or 5, who were made honorary aldermen of Ashford.
Yes.
That are on the current list, which obviously indicates that they recognised his longevity apart from anything else, because he was on the Borough Council for 32 years.
Yes. So it has been suggested that we hold a minute's silence in his honour, which I think is entirely appropriate. Do you think we should stand for that?
Yeah.
Very good.
I think everyone knows Aline has asked me to say some words at the ceremony, the service on Friday, which I said I would do. The reason for asking me was because of those who are here now. I've worked most closely with Nick for the longest period. And I knew him quite well, been to the house and all that sort of thing, so I should do that. And I won't be, of course, speaking on behalf, well, I'll be speaking on behalf of the council without speaking on behalf of the council.
It's a slight pity there's nobody here from the general public to see the tribute we paid to him, but there it is.
There will also be quite a few people from actually communities in rural Kent, which then went defunct, because Mick was absolutely central to that. And in the demise, he stepped forward and did most of the legwork. He also collected the monies from all of us that we were liable for as trustees of an unregulated or whatever it is, charity. And in fact, on a completely separate note, I was in contact with the current interim chief executive there, and she said she'd be there, and then Richard King told me to be there. And of course the other news, I'm not sure how many people knew, but Charlie Simpkins, who's also on the board, he passed away a week or so recently.
When was that, do you know?
Golly, 2 weeks ago. It was like a week after me.
Was that sudden?
Yeah, well, no, he'd been suffering from cancer from
everybody was fond of Charlie.
Yeah.
I think that we can expect the service to be pretty jam-packed.
Yeah.
They're expecting, I think, quite a number of Ashford Borough councillors to come.
I was
including
expecting
the mayor, by the way.
Yes, I know. I heard. I'm expecting 150.
Right.
Do you think that's a reasonable estimate?
Well, I have no idea, but it could be. I think
we
it could
chairs
be
out then, don't we?
Standing room, possibly.
Well,
Parking is going to be an issue now.
We'll put extra chairs out. But there are quite a lot of voters who rising to the occasion, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
I think in something like 1898, the church actually had over 500 people in it, according to the records.
500 from the morning service and 200 for the afternoon service.
Yeah, well, the 200 couldn't get out.
Parking is an issue potentially, and Aline asked me if I would ask, and I have left a message, ask the sports club if they would mind leaving the gate open and people can park in there as well, because that car park here will be full. A few in front of the church. The street will be sort of clogged up with people coming to collect the
That's a
children.
good point, because Mary Mallett has more than once offered me the key to the apple yard,
Yeah.
Oh, right,
and she keeps on forgetting to give it to me.
right.
So perhaps I could ask her for it.
Yeah, that would be sensible.
And
Good idea.
And take a copy.
Yeah. Good idea.
no,
Because-
it would be my own key, but
I mean, ideally, of course, they'll share, but they may, I mean, people who don't know Wittersham just won't realise. I mean, Aline said herself that she's hoping to get a lift with the mayor.
I can never remember Mary Mallett's telephone number. Do you happen to know it? Or
Not a bad
I've got it.
would you mind letting me have it?
Yes,
I can write it down and I can give her a ring.
270,
Thank you, it's very helpful.
just to keep things moving along.
It's something like
I don't know.
238 or something.
Yeah.
It's 238 or something like that.
Be something very early.
238, isn't it? That's impressive, isn't it? Oh. Okay. Very good. Okay. Have we dealt with enough preliminaries, Yvonne?
Yes,
And one.
declarations, there weren't any, no, after that. Public session.
And any applications to put to the meeting by the chairman and respective members seeking a dispensation? No?
No, thank you.
No.
And reminding us all, as we know, that the meeting is recorded for publication. And then, if Yvonne says it's all right, I'm going to move on to the minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen those. And are there any?
A couple of typos.
Are there?
4778C,
Mm.
Poplar Fan. It should be Poplar Farm.
Oh yes, line 4.
So I've got it at the top. And the next one?
4783, which is planning. Treybine, it's got a question mark instead of a stroke.
Which plan? C.
Sorry, I just...
4783C.
7
83.
8 C. Ah, right.
Okay.
The Poplar Road, Poplar Farm.
Oh, yes.
Got it, yeah, sorry.
Well,
We've moved on to Tri-Barn.
Yeah.
Tri-Bairn. Is it Tri-Bairn or Tri-Barn?
Bairn, isn't it?
Okay, thank you. Any more, Sally?
No.
No.
Very good. Anything else in the minutes or any any matters arising, perhaps?
Could we sign them if they,
Oh, yes.
if you wouldn't mind, please, people sign sort of them, yeah, and then date it, please. Thank you very much.
It might appear under correspondence. That, have we got any response from that VE Day, for instance, from the History Society?
Sort of, not much more than we had.
Right, we agreed to purchase a flag, but I wondered if...
I purchased the flag,
Yeah.
I do have it, I'm hoping that Dave will call in
Right, I just wondered if that was it.
Thursday. They're going to open up their evening, it's British Legion in the evening, they're going
Right.
to open it up to everybody, and they're hoping to hold a film, but it will be in here. And will hopefully have some bunting that I will put round, because it's my coffee morning, so I'll have bunting round, and I said I'll leave that up for their evening as well.
do you mean the film will be in here or what?
Yeah, no, in here it says, he
We're
says.
not going to get many in then.
Who's going to hoist the flag?
Dave always does it. That's why he always holds the jack as well, because he always does that. And that's at 9 o'clock on the day, 8th.
So can you remember, we talked briefly about the Ukrainian flag at the church quite recently.
Hmm.
I think
What was
it's
the
been
side of
replaced. Because it was flying, it looked in much better health
Perhaps
on Sunday. I think it's been replaced.
Right, somebody may have replaced it. I just wondered if you knew. I don't think. I'm surprised. I don't know, but I don't know.
I don't think it was discussed too much, was it?
I think we have had a discussion somewhere, but perhaps you weren't involved.
No, I wasn't
So
involved.
perhaps somebody's taken it on themselves to replace it.
Because
no, I didn't know
it was
anything
looking
about
very
that.
tatty.
It was.
And on Sunday, the version that was flying didn't look tatty.
Because that one had been donated
Yeah.
by.
It's usually Angela's husband, isn't it?
Roger.
Donates the flag.
Roger,
Yes.
perhaps. So perhaps they've donated
But
another
there's
one.
also a man opposite, isn't there, who's donated a flag as well?
Yes, the chap whose wife does the Claudia does the flowers.
Mm-hmm.
But then I'm not sure anyway. Perhaps we should know, but we don't. And well, I'm glad it looks in good condition. That's reassuring. It seems appropriate that we should be thankful for that on this particular day when they got some permissions back from the United States. Okay. Do we need to ask any more about that, Paul?
No, that's fine. Thank you.
And we're not doing anything else particularly ourselves, are we? Are you?
No, I would say the flag and coffee morning.
Yeah.
That would be. We were talking about May, so we've still got, if we want to take it further, we've still got the next meeting.
And what date is it?
May the 8th,
Okay.
which is a Thursday.
The other half of this, if Dave Fletcher has got the support of his colleagues at British Legion, this is, I know he told me what he hoped to do, was to do this film type arrangement on VE Day, but to remember that there's VJ Day coming along in August, and that is the time, because it will be in the summer, when they can try and get something on the sports ground and a barbecue and a more celebratory rather than reflective. And of course that is then the end of the war rather than just the folk war.
I suppose expect we'll have another flag then.
Okay. Now, I know Yvonne's been working very hard on the Swan and has sensibly taken some initiatives. Should I ask you to report a bit more about it?
Yes, after our last meeting I sent out an email to all those who had given email addresses at our initial meeting, asking if they would be prepared to form a committee. I had a couple of responses to this, but that's all. So I followed it up by another one on the 6th of March last week. Asked everybody the same thing, asking for definite responses this time that we needed to. We were going to do anything, we needed actual people to come forward. I've received another 2 and 2 possibilities, so we've got a total of 6. So I thought perhaps we give it another week, and then if we don't hear any more, get those people together and see whether they are able, they've got enough between them to take it forward. So by the next meeting in April we should know whether we've got something to go on or not.
Oh, that's a good idea. John offered, and he's not here to disagree.
Yes, that's why I can't.
He offered to sort of host a sort of get together those interested, and
So that's what I'm saying, another week we should
there are a
know.
couple that I approached that have decided they haven't got the time
Yes,
to do it as well.
Is it reasonable to ask the names you've got, or was that?
probably not at this
No,
stage.
okay, no, right.
I've had more people came back this time responding to this to say no, they couldn't, really sorry, but they haven't got the expertise or the time. But still not a lot of response. But it's a case of whether, if the people that are interested might be able to get more people interested,
Yeah.
was my thought.
Yes.
So that's...
It's the sort of thing that once it took off, you might get a little bit more infectious enthusiasm.
Once they've got a group.
Yes. So it's a matter of getting it off the ground.
Yes, so if we leave another week just so that, because it was only the 6th that I sent this out. And when then John's back, And perhaps we can get in touch with those again and get a meeting together. So that's where we are.
Nothing more to say on that.
No, I think so.
Sports club?
Things were looking quite positive last time I got guidance. Maybe easier than they felt before, but this is all conversations. There were no negatives being expressed. Paul has said in the past, that it would have been much tidier to have had it all done and dusted, as indeed they would like to have done, but that was obviously impossible for various reasons. The lease has technically ended now, as of yesterday, so they are now holding over. It has been confirmed orally that that's just fine, but that's all it is. But on the other hand, as I said, they do believe they've got an easier route opening up, but I wouldn't want to go any further than that.
I have been asked not to allow too much discussion on the sports club, just because there is progress.
It's sensitive political progress.
It's sensitive. There is I think progress being made. I did have some information the other day, and perhaps Jeremy or somebody else can bring me up to speed on this. It's a question about whether the trust has served the formal notice in the prescribed form on the landlord seeking to renew the lease under 26 of the Law Property Act 1954. This must be served in the last year of the lease and prior to the expiry date of the existing term. Otherwise, the trust will lose the statutory right to seek a renewal of the lease. Do you have any knowledge of?
You're in the technical weeds that are beyond me. I understand the Law of Property Act as a title, and I know it's there, and I know those things exist, but the details of how they operate, I don't know. They may well have done it, or indeed they may not, because of other...
If they haven't, then from that little bit of information, it would suggest that we are out of time.
Technically,
I don't think it's worked.
I don't think.
I think it's not working.
It hasn't been served.
It hasn't worked.
It hasn't been served. And the other thing is that the other observation I would make is that now it's run out. A, it hasn't been served within the year, and secondly, although we might have something orally from someone to someone, there's nothing in writing. And that's the fact.
Is that serious? Bearing in mind what I just read out.
Well, I just think it's now all down to grace and favour and hope and a prayer, because we're hearing that things are moving ahead.
We've been hearing that for 10 years.
Well, exactly. But the fact is that if you were doing a risk register of assets in the parish, that would be right at the very top at the moment.
As I said,
I deal with them every week, and the fact is that I'm hoping, as Jeremy has said, hoping that it will at some stage, maybe this year even, work its way out. But I wouldn't bet your house on it.
They were getting legal advice at one stage, so if it's what Alan has, if it is what Alan has just read out, and we don't know if it applies in these circumstances and all the rest of it, then one would have thought that would have been put to them and done.
Well, it's very well. I'll give you an absolute on it. If it's been done, there'll be a written note or written evidence
to say it's been done. Of course.
And I suspect that if I said to the Sports Club Committee, where is that held, there'll be a look of blankness based on it. And I think the fact that without supposition, the facts remain that it's run out of time. That wasn't done within the year of the demise, the end of the lease, and we are faced with a situation, I believe, with an asset that we hope will get resolved, but day after day the risk grows even greater. I don't think there's anything we as a parish council can do apart from step forward and take ownership of the, metaphorically speaking, of the whole thing, and that's been resisted. So at the moment we're in a position, for the record, that we aren't doing anything, we're just hoping.
And that's what the sports club want. They don't want us to do anything.
No, fine, fair enough.
The sports club feel that they are fine, it will work. I understand all the objections that are made, that of course things don't necessarily work, and that, as I've said before, if the landlord wanted to close it down, he could, as far as I know, subject to what you've just read out, he could close it down.
Or his executors
Or
could.
his executors could. They have always been relying on his goodwill, and if the goodwill is there, then he can renew it. Nothing has ever suggested to the people I talk to that he doesn't wish to do it. But, of course, things get tangled. Part of the problem is that and I think this is probably known, the Charity Commission told the committee that they could not establish a CIO unless all the trustees signed it. And at least one of them, probably two of them, having been positive about it earlier, then decided they wouldn't. And so that really threw them into a state earlier. Now there have been alternative thoughts. It seems as though maybe they are seeing light at the end of the tunnel, but we'll see. I tell you as best I can what I understand. There's a degree to which it's not appropriate to be discussing it in public, which is what we're
Well, that's fair enough, except for the fact that the parish council meetings are supposed to be transparent, and we can discuss all of this. And I think the thing that for me, sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean, no, sorry, I didn't know to interrupt.
No, well,
I've just said it's supposed to be transparent. It's transparent, we record it, but that means we're doing it for the public. We're not putting it into private session.
No, I completely agree with that. I think the point about it all is that my understanding, as with a lot of people in the village, is the sports club was set up for the benefit of the whole village, not just certain elements of it. And it's a generally accepted ruling that the parish council has the interests of the whole village at heart. And I, for one, feel really uncomfortable that that's never really been fully recognised. And I don't believe that as a parish council we are seen to be championing the cause of it for the whole village. I completely understand all the problems and all the different players, and people couldn't make this and we have disagreed on that, and then the agent couldn't do this. I mean, it's been beset. If you wrote a book, you'd be running into more volumes than Winston Churchill's memoirs. But the fact remains that as a parish council, and our responsibilities, be they potholes, footpaths, flags up the flagpole, this is probably the biggest, if not one of the two biggest assets of the entire village. And the risk to the village is increasing on a day-by-day basis. And whilst I fully understand that, and I've spoken to some of the trustees, that they hope and pray and what have you, I'm just uncomfortable with month after month after month. It's going to stay on the agenda, right, for month after month after month until it's resolved. And at the moment, if someone stopped us in the street and said, when do we think it's going to be resolved, I'm afraid the answer I would give is nobody knows. In all honesty, nobody knows.
But I am reassured in writing that progress is being made, so I think we'll leave it there for the moment.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's all right.
Thank you.
And thank you very much. Land fronting St John the Baptist Church, have we got anywhere at all?
Yes.
Oh, no.
Maybe not where you want to be, but yes, I had a response. I chased him again. This is Jamie Cunningham, chap we met. He has received confirmation that the piece of land has nothing to do with KCC, which is what we, in between the two footpaths.
But the brick path does?
The brick path, yes, does.
Right.
So he will now come and look at it.
Right.
I said, shall we arrange a date? He came back and said, I'll come and look at it probably tomorrow with one of my new highway stewards. So that's tomorrow, Wednesday.
Excellent. He doesn't want to meet us there.
No. So he will look at it and let us know his findings.
And does he know it's been tidied up?
Yes.
Excellent.
Oh, yes, I told him that.
Yeah.
And when it was, so that he could come down.
Yeah.
But Alfred, if you notice, Alfred's since done the edging, so it looks
Good for him.
as it should. Obviously, we have this other issue with the brick path that goes behind the cottages.
Yes.
And he's asking whether the parish council wants to take that further with the residents there. I've explained that the residents, and he has in the email, residents believe that they were told by KCC that it is not a public right-of-way through there, hence they blocked it off. I'm not sure that the parish council wants to open this up as such, because we've now got to the stage where nobody walks it or tries to walk it, because for so long now we haven't. I'm not sure it's worth opening it up to say, yes, we want to walk it. But I think it might be useful if it is definitely still public, that the residents should be made aware that it is still public.
Yeah.
Although we're not forcing it to be.
Myself, I feel that's the correct approach. I think it would just cause too much anguish
Yes.
if we tried.
Yes.
So, I mean, that's fine, but I think they should be made aware.
Yes.
Well,
How do we actually do that?
Well, it's up to KCC. I passed it back to
So
him.
they would eventually
they
write
would.
to the residents
Yes.
and say, look,
If they want to, because it's theirs, it's up to them to what.
but
to
then
know.
it
Well,
doesn't
it
sort
could be
of...
an issue if somebody tries to sell their house though, which...
And this is why they want to know.
Where is the boundary of the properties at the rear? Does that include or exclude the footpath?
doesn't
That's the point.
footpath.
If it belongs to the KCC, then of
Right.
course it excludes the footpath.
It's
In which
highway.
case it's a public right of way.
No, it's not.
It's not.
Highway.
It's not the public right of way as we think of PROWs.
Okay.
It's like any other footpath, a bit like the footpath that goes to
It's
the
like a
front of
street.
it.
It's a highway.
Yes.
So if you walked along it, would you be trespassing?
No, you're using your right
No,
to go
no,
on the highway.
no.
But they say
Fair enough.
that we would be because KCC told them.
No, but that doesn't count for much.
No, I agree.
But then isn't there a problem that if, for instance, they can show that nobody's walked it for 11 years, then it becomes theirs?
No, it's still highway.
Still
Look,
highway.
if you can't lose a PROW without a whole load of stopping up orders, which are legally very complex, Yvonne knows, or move them even. Generally, you can't close them, you've got to move them. If this is highway, I mean, highway is like the street. You've got everyone's got rights along it. It's not a PROW in the sense that the street is not a PROW, it's a highway. This path is going to,
It's a highway.
it's a highway.
So in other words, who's
And I don't
blocked,
think
who's,
they
who's,
can let it
blocked,
go.
who's blocked it off?
Residents that
Well, all of them, or
no, just
well, I think a quiet word to that resident. I mean, for example, if Jeremy decided to block off the street, okay, highway, there'd be an uproar.
You
But
know?
I've spoken to them.
Yeah.
They, before they blocked it up, they went
To
to KCC.
Mhm.
KCC went through all the records
Mm.
and said, it's not a public right of way.
Is it a highway?
Yeah.
Well, that's the key thing.
They were
Exactly.
given the answer, they were given the, I said this last time,
Mm.
they asked the wrong question,
Yeah.
they were given the answer to the wrong
Yes.
question.
Right.
It does not represent an answer to a different question.
Yes.
So therefore, the right question should be that they. Well, I think that if they have misunderstood, okay, there's been a misunderstanding. First of all, that needs clarifying. To Jeremy's point, it's a highway,
Yes.
right? And therefore, there'll be a bylaw that says if you block a highway, you are liable for prosecution. And I think we need to make that point to the resident. If that resident still wants to block it off,
We don't need to do that.
No.
That's down to KCC.
We
well, no,
do.
anyone could. If he went and blocked the street, you don't have to wait for
No.
KCC.
No.
No, what I'm saying is I would prefer that KCC
Yes.
takes this. It's their
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I
Under
was just
the
thinking of quietly
circumstances.
advising the
I
residents.
already-
I would leave it to KCC myself.
And are we comfortable they're going to
They're not
take
gonna
action?
bother.
Because otherwise we're just kicking the.
Well, no, we're
That's it.
comfortable that they're not going to take action. They're going to tell them what they should be doing, but they're not going to do it
Does it matter?
because it doesn't.
We haven't walked that because once it was blocked off, once we were told that
I think it
KCC had
matters
said,
that they're advised of the correct situation.
oh yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Yes.
But not that we should insist that it be kept open.
No.
And also, I wonder if because if they ever sold the property, I can't remember the name of it now, but the document that householders have to complete if they're
Inquirers.
the inquiries form, they need to be told that you'd have to put that you've made a decision to block it off. Because if somebody consequently bought it and then they discovered they're liable, then all hell could break loose. That's the issue.
I just think that we
Why would
should.
they block it off? By the way? Is that-
They didn't like people walking along it.
Oh, sorry.
And they use it for their own personal recreational
Yeah, but
Engagement.
it's like no one's entitled to a view, and I just think that all we can do is be. The trouble we've got here is it's not just the highway behind the property; it's because it's connected, right? We can't sort of have a rule that applies to the bit that we want it to apply, and then ignore it for the rest of it, because presumably it comes out somewhere.
Comes out onto the public right of way.
Yeah, exactly. So the connectivity is there, and I think that there's it comes back to this whole responsibility of the parish council, isn't it? At least we can, in Jeremy's words, at least we can make sure that the right question is asked and the right answer given, and therefore let everything take its course. I just worry also it might get in the way of what we're trying to do in the car park. Can you just remind me, what was the latest on ownership where people park the cars?
Well, that's what I said. He's come back to say it doesn't belong to KCC.
Right.
That's not KCC. It's not ours. It's not the church's.
Oh.
So whose is it?
It's common land.
No man's land, I call it.
No.
But then,
No.
but then with no man's land, with no man's land, though, if you can show that you've been using it and occupying it for 11 years, then it becomes yours.
They've already made that point that if we decided to register it as land, our land, saying that it was, kind of orphaned, and the land registry accepted that and no one objected to it, then we would still no longer be able to use it for anything other than letting the school park on it, arguably, because there would be some of them that said, I've been doing it for 12 years.
Yeah.
That's what KCC told us. Coming back to the little bit of highway behind the cottages, I think KCC should be pressed because they are not entitled to relinquish their highway without a whole load of grief. It does happen. I'm pretty certain that in the City of London, of course they have their own rules anyway, but in the City of London, some of these little alleyways that go back before the Fire of London, people will pay some money and get agreement to just build straight across them. Equally, sometimes they have to have a door at one end and a door at the other and people can walk through.
Two additional points. One is that if this is a brick path going past the back door of these houses and they've annexed it for themselves, then, I mean, if, for instance, KCC say we own it and therefore we're going to maintain it, they might find it attractive that KCC were going to maintain or relay their bricks or whatever, rather than them having to do it themselves.
Slight complication, Alan. KCC usually, it seems, do not own highway.
Yes.
It's a designation that gives them the rights as highway authority.
And the other point is that does this have any effect on our earlier discussion that if we have shown that it's common land, would the parish council have an interest in a degree of maintenance for the tarmac area?
Well, potentially yes.
I think potentially yes.
Potentially yes. By the way, common land is a technical term, although
Yeah.
I don't think you're trying to use it that way.
So is that something we can discuss further?
Common land has to be registered as common land, and it isn't.
So, okay, but is that something
It's
we can
just
discuss?
orphaned. There's no owner.
But is that something we can discuss at this point? About whether
Well,
the parish
I
council...
raised it a few meetings ago, saying we shouldn't even be talking to KCC about it unless we are willing to head in that direction, and we never really decided.
Wouldn't the natural occupiers of that be the church? Given that presumably that's what it was,
Would its land
its
use...
purpose is, parking for the church. I know it's parking for the school as well now.
One has to presume that it was an area of land, call it lay-by or whatever, or recess in the road, where people came along with their carriage and dropped Granny off at the front gate and then moved on. And it's a historical piece of land used by the church. I don't think the church would find it terribly attractive to own it because the church has no money to be able to sustain it. So I'm hoping it's going to perhaps be viewed as common land, whereby the parish council might say, to make our village look thoroughly attractive throughout, we'll do something to make it look good.
I think
Quite an expensive, I was thinking.
It's going to be the expense, isn't
Well, there hasn't been much expense over the years.
Well, no, it hasn't.
Yeah,
It
nothing
is
done to-
getting
how
to the
much
point now, isn't it?
if the church, I mean, I agree with you. To me, the logic of it is that the church has it. The church hasn't got any money, then the church can apply to the parish council for a grant for it to be tarmacked. And if it's done properly, it won't have to be re-tarmacked every year after year. Then the school can be reminded by the church that that's Church of England school, and therefore de facto during the week the teachers are very welcome to park there. But also, you know, if there are certain services, funerals, weddings, not on a Sunday, there's not many spaces left on a Sunday because all the locals kind of park there.
See, that's a good point. I need to send to the school to ask them to leave it vacant on Friday.
Yes.
Very good point.
But the point is, to me, the most logical thing is that the church takes ownership. They should take ownership of the highway footpath and then charge the residents a rent. There's an income stream for you. But once and for all, sort it and have it properly tarmacked and the lines on it which show people how to park sensibly, because very often those who do park there have an interesting concept of space and reality. Anyhow, that's
this is a little bit back to front, I think, in this respect. It could be left entirely as it was for the next umpteen years. In other words, no one knows who uses it, people park as they wish and all the rest of it, no issue. It then started to get into the question of, does it need a little bit of maintenance because it's a bit bumpy, and you had the problem with the brick path as well.
And people had accidents and fell over and hurt
but although that was on the brick path supposedly rather than the other one, but let's say they could start falling over. It then got to the question of, would we like it to be done up, and if so, were we willing to do it up ourselves? Maybe, maybe not, we didn't get to that question. But I did say at that stage, if we wanted to do it up, we shouldn't go spending the money unless we made sure that KCC relinquished any responsibility and any power over it. And they've done that. They've said, don't ask us, nothing to do with us. We've got a footpath here, we've got a highway behind it, strangely enough, and the bit in the middle we don't give a stuff about. And he did say, it's strange even that you can't get from his path here to his path under a different rule there without going across a bit of land that they know nothing about. Nevertheless, if we want to do it up, we need to make sure that we've got some control over it, or certainly that KCC don't. If we don't want to do it up, we don't necessarily have to do anything. If we want to just do a little bit, you know, bucket and spade job, filling in a pothole here and there, maybe we just do that when we want to and don't go any further. We don't spend a huge amount of money.
So should I get the PCC to apply to the PC to say, would you like to do something?
Once it's all, well, as Jeremy said,
But it has
if it's now been done,
we now know that they don't have
any interest in it.
So we are, as I see it, we are in a position now to ask the PC to intervene.
Don't you need to register it to the church first?
No, because it's common. We don't want it registered to the church. We want it registered to the parish council.
We're making an assumption, although KCC have in effect done this, that no one else has got registered ownership. But that doesn't stop somebody in the pub across the road, for argument's sake, coming out with a deed from 1743 and saying, right away, that's on my deeds, that's mine.
Because it could have been the car park for Queen's Head Cottages.
Indeed, it could.
Could that was the pub.
It could have been a lot of things. I suspect, as you implied earlier, if you think of Tenterden and the High Street, what does it do? On one side it goes like this, and it's all highway, it's all tarmacked. I know people park on it, but it's all just, it's the road. And I suspect this was just, as you said, a bit of an inlet by the church to park your carriage or tie up your horse.
So why don't we, as a parish council, register it, okay, and then we can sublet it for 1,000 years to the church, or something like that. But that means that it's no longer an orphan, it's owned by somebody, right? And nobody else wants it, then we, parish council, register it, and then we can sublet it if necessary for a penny a year for X number of years.
I wasn't thinking of a penny.
Well, no, it's a figure of speech, but I then think maybe we ought to appropriate the highway path, but that's a different conversation.
And then the PCC will apply to the parish council for some maintenance.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then the church has sort of like the de facto responsibility because it's got a sublease on it and it's all maintained, and those that walk in our worthy footsteps in years to come in the parish council will just have to have that responsibility, but it's no big deal.
Responsibility of the church to a working party together to fill the holes in.
Don't mention electric vehicle charging points. You'll have a fit. So
Yeah.
that's a suggestion.
If we wanted to put signs up saying vicar or rector only, or church warden only, or verger only,
Yeah.
who gives permission for that?
You probably need listed building consent.
I think frankly, if we owned it as a parish council, we just do it, and I defy anybody in KCC or ABC to come back and say you shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
You
You
know,
have to remember we're in the conservation area.
we'll have a nice sign then.
The chances of, I think, well, anyway, we'll perhaps address that another time, but let's get it tidied up first if we can. Yeah.
So is that what we're doing? Are we agreeing then that we go forward and register
Yeah.
this piece of land?
Are you happy to lead on that, Yvonne?
Well, we seek to. We may find
Yes.
we get rejected. Because
We should
can't-
seek to.
we've got to make the best argument we can for the fact that there's no known owner. The county council don't think it's theirs, and that and that it's already used informally, and we're just tidying it up. But whether the land registry then, after a year's consideration, chuck it out, or that they get something come out that would work, we don't know.
Jeremy, you're rather good at doing these little submissions. Is there any chance you might consider working with Yvonne to produce a short document that would...
The plan between Yvonne and I, agreed by the parish council some years ago, was we were going to register all of our land, and we set out to do it. We were working with solicitors at the time who were ex-KCC, that we took on with a sort of little retainer each year, which they had introduced for parish councils, and it turned out to be totally and utterly useless. So in the end we gave up with them, and it remains for us to, as a council, I mean it's not really, obviously not chairing it anymore, to decide if we want to go to somebody else, to go through it again. We ought to have our land registered. It would be a good step forward. It tidies things up and stops people colonising it.
All of our land.
Yeah, all of it.
I think that's a really good place to
We
start.
were going to do that before.
Yeah.
There was a case where Iden, a local village, had a bit of land nicked off them.
Yeah.
I won't go any further. I say nicked, that's colloquial, because there are different views as to whose it was. But the problem really rested, I think, on the fact that it had been registered.
And it's still going on.
Is it? So
I think that's a good place to start.
we should be doing that
Let's
now.
register all of that.
Yvonne has come across a new solicitor, haven't you, at a conference lately?
Who did?
Darren.
Wellers, wasn't it, at your chairmanship conference?
Yes. The
Wellers.
name's gone.
Wellers.
Well,
Was it Wellers? It could
I
have been.
think.
Yeah.
they are now the legal advisor to CALP. That looks like, in other words, they are very familiar with parish councilisms.
We don't really want legal fees, though, if we can possibly avoid it.
You won't get away without it. We're
Yeah,
not going to manage to
that's
register it.
you've got to do it properly. And while
It
you're
needs
at
to
it,
come in on the letterhead anyway. That is.
while we're at it, any other land that we might want to acquire?
Well, ironically, because they're messing about not doing their CIO, we still, of course, have the title to this place. If they had a CIO, they could have it themselves, but they are going slow on it again.
So,
This was one of the ones we were going to do.
So have we come to a conclusion on this?
I think all the parish council land, including that, we should properly register.
I can tell you exactly what it is. It
and if you
is
two can,
Coronation Field,
yeah,
bus shelter, which
Yeah.
is separate,
Here.
Memorial Garden,
here,
War Memorial,
Yeah.
Here,
yeah,
and I think, and potentially a bit in front of the church.
and
I don't
the
think
church
it's-
lay-by.
Say the cemetery.
Sorry?
Cemetery.
Oh, cemetery, of course, and cemetery. Cemetery extension is the only bit we've got registered in our name.
We don't own the triangle.
No.
Who owns the triangle?
Well, I would have thought KCC to be on there.
Yeah, so we're
Because if you remember, it was originally just one big flare.
I think we're drifting a little now, so I'm going to
Yeah.
see if we've got to
Register the
conclusions.
lot.
Is that okay?
Sure.
Caretaker scheme?
Big achievement there, Alan. Big achievement.
Yes. Well, it is, isn't it? Yes. And you can flag it up. Yes, well done.
Back on
Well
the
done,
agenda.
Yvonne, I think.
Another job.
Caretaker scheme?
Not. I was hoping to have had something by now, but Jo Fox has been on. She's the ABC lady we saw. Has been away. So although I've chased it, I did hope. I haven't got anything. I took the Aspire chat round. Well, Alf and I took the Aspire chat round to all the places that we cut and do the hedges for ABC. And he said, oh yes, that's what I did before. That's when he worked for Landscape Services. So I got the impression that he didn't think there was anything more from what he'd originally quoted for. So I've gone back to Ashford and said, so where are we going from here? And that's what I'm waiting for a response from.
When you were talking to himself, did you ask him about planting the bench in the play area?
Yes.
So he's going to do that?
Yes, he will do that. He will do that. And he also said that he thought he had a spare picnic bench too, which he might include. So I mean, he was very amenable, but...
Did we get what we wanted?
No.
Right.
Thank you. We haven't got any planning applications.
No.
Do we need to talk about Stocks
Yes.
Road? Because it's coming up on the 19th of March,
Yes.
apparently.
It is.
Yeah.
We've just had a name on, haven't we?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
So, what aspects do we think we need to discuss about this?
Well,
Whether we're going to support it again, basically.
well, no, because we've already supported it. It's a case of whether we go to the planning committee and say anything, basically. Because last time, Jeremy went in support of.
I went and did my 3 minutes, which they, well, let's say we didn't get it through. On the other hand, it did actually at least succeed in managing to get the committee to agree not to accept the recommendation to refuse.
Yeah.
And they've then been messing around for about 3 years until eventually it's gone in with the 20 houses instead of the 30. And Yvonne has just looked at the papers on the committee agenda tonight, and it is a planning officer's recommendation to support, which they had to grant, which they had to do because that's what they were told to do, go away and agree something. I despair of it being 20, as you know. I think that it's utterly ridiculous to use a large amount of land that could accommodate 40. We're going to have 30 and now they want to do 20. That's completely against all policy, but that's where they are. I think it's a bit strange if we don't go as a council, having gone last time and having been a supporter. I'm not particularly keen to do it because apart from anything else, it's on the record that I supported it at 20 with reluctance because I think 20 is the wrong solution, but it would be strange to have objected to it at this level. So, you know, I'm not a full-throated supporter, but for very odd reasons. I'm not against the 20 houses, I just think it should be 30. And I don't really want to be sitting in front of the committee telling them that I think they've got it really wrong, but I do.
Could you possibly?
And I have to do that in 3 minutes.
Could you? Okay, so I'm going to make a suggestion, if I may, Mr. Chairman, that you, because you know as much, if not more than all of us, you know, you have the detail. No disrespect to John, but he has nowhere near the amount of detail that you've got.
He doesn't want to do it because he's not really very keen on it.
Yeah, but also, is it possible you could go there and reflect the fact that we support it, and maybe don't take them to task? There's not more than 20 houses on it, because I just think that this has dragged on so much, and so many people have mentioned that we need affordable housing in the village. We built nothing at all, year after year after year, and I completely agree with you. I think someone needs to go, and if you wouldn't mind, Jeremy, representing us, I'd be wholeheartedly behind you on that.
I think that I was thinking of it earlier, and the only way to be honest and correct, but not to throw
A spanner.
too many bricks into the
Pond.
tranquil pond, would be to say that the Parish Council has always supported building on this site. It continues to support it all the way through. My own personal position at the Parish Council, not in other words, I would tell the committee without saying, I'm telling you, at the Parish Council I was highly regretful that it was 20 houses instead of 30.
I'd be totally comfortable with that.
But that is actually what's in front of the committee, and I know the committee can only approve what is in front of them. If there was to be a way forward, what should happen is that they'll get it. They will get it because it's recommended now, almost certainly, unless there's a démarche coming back from Ashford Independence or something, because they don't like building in villages. So they get the 20, and then I think Tatterton ought to say thanks very much, put in a 30 again. And that's not unusual in bigger schemes.
No,
They bank one and then come back with what they wanted.
Can I just
They
say
may
that
not bother.
Greg is away at the moment. but
He did say earlier he wasn't going to go and object.
No.
In fact, he doesn't object now. Sorry.
So, but I told him that we got,
Oh, right.
it had come through, and so can I just read what he
Yes,
said? I
do.
would read out what he said.
Oh, yeah, please.
I have read the report and can see that it is a fairly wholehearted recommendation to approve and therefore unlikely to be refused. Reading the Section 106 provisions, I can see there are a number of contributions for local issues which of course would be attractive to the Parish Council. However, I hope you will understand my concern that the proposed scheme does not go anywhere far enough to provide genuinely sustainable and zero carbon homes in this time of climate crisis. Could the Parish Council ask ABC to strengthen the conditions in this respect?
You happy to do that, Jeremy?
Yeah,
Very reasonable.
yeah, I'll obviously have to look through it. I think the 19th is all right.
That's Jeremy Oaks here.
Yes, yeah.
I think we said that at the time, didn't we, when we supported
Yes, we
it
did.
anyway,
Yes,
so
because that was something that came up.
Yeah.
But there's loads of, I mean, I picked up something about water butts. It's pages and pages, you ought to look at it, but it is pages and pages of what, even highways and what highways think needs to be done, moving the 30-mile-an-hour sign 100 metres, whatever it is, further. There's lots of things in it. I only briefly read it because it only just came in, but it's really full and it's got all the sections, all the what they want from all the different, the Section 106 and all that. It's really interesting.
Will Johnny be going to maybe speak or support or as our councillor?
I asked him a bit ago and I didn't. I don't think I got an answer at all. I think it was probably on email. I think his position was that he is less fully committed to it than Mick was, because he's conscious of the large number of people here who object to it, which of course Mick pointed out to the committee who, when they said there's so many people objecting to it, and he said, well, there were 1,000 residents to set against them. Which it was regarded as, I don't know whether they were mathematically challenged, but they didn't seem to understand that 1,000 residents against 75 objectors. But I think Johnny is a bit less committed to it. That's my feeling. He's never said that directly, but he didn't jump in and say, yes, of course I'll go. I think maybe he will.
I think he said.
But in that case, it may be more a question of exactly what he says. He ought to go. It's not just a single house.
He has been very supportive of individual residents in his ward who have been looking to navigate their way through the treacle of the ABC Planning Department.
Sure.
I think, the fact that nothing has happened year on year on year, he is fully cognizant of that, and I'd see him, and as Yvonne quite rightly said, the conditions, I mean, he'd lose the will to live reading through it. It is a bit more than 20 water butts. I mean, I just don't understand why the conditions that most authorities impose on new house building doesn't seem to get the same traction with Ashford, but there you go. But Jeremy, thank you.
So I think we've covered that. Thank you, Jeremy, for the offer.
You should all come along and cheer, obviously. But no one did last time.
We were there in spirit.
It was there with great.
So there in spirit, yes. Thank you for that. Corresponding to one?
Right, if we're going to public rights of way again, this is the one that we were asked about, just so that you can see on yourselves. You want to pass it around so you can see. No, pass it
I
around.
couldn't understand it.
It's going to go, instead of with Rugden, it used to go directly past the barn.
Mm-hmm.
And then into Jane's garden and through. It's now going to go up to the same sort of point, but then go along the drive and then into the field that was adjacent to the barn, round the edge of it and out into the far field, and then along the other side of the boundary. So it then goes all the way round the other side of Jane's garden and round to pick up where it sort of was before.
So can I just ask? I think I understand it. But so AT81, that's the pathway from. That's our past. Where's the road that Alex lives on?
Oh, here.
Oh, right.
This
Okay.
this is the bridle way.
Right. Okay.
This is where the circus was.
The circus is here.
You've got the bridle way.
Yeah, and it comes out here by
Poplar.
near
the
Bernard.
sheep, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So
Yes.
you got here.
So this is the way it was used to go round
Yeah.
to. So
Yeah.
these are the Rugden. So there was the barn.
Right.
So it used to go past through right
Yeah.
past the front of
Yeah.
the barn, and then it used to go straight across, and there were stiles that took you through Jane's garden,
Yeah.
and then across to that point, and then there's a big hump there, and then you used to come down this way,
Right.
and
So
then join the
Yeah.
one that comes down.
so if you're going up this
So-
way to Rugden,
Yes,
Right.
you s-
and then
So
I'm
stop.
thinking, how does it come out of the stable, the horse stables?
up there.
So
So
it's
this
up
is
here, yeah.
yes. So it comes. So it looks. That's the private way. It
Yeah,
still
yeah,
comes
yeah.
round here, but
Yeah.
before it gets to their properties,
Yeah.
it then goes along the drive. This is the drive that will take you out to Poplar Road.
So that's
So
Len and
that
Sally's
was-
house there, is it?
Sheep washes there.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
it. So it then comes along there, and then there's a stile here.
Yeah.
Takes you into this field,
Yeah.
and then goes all the way along the edge.
Yeah.
And then there's a stile that takes you out into this field,
Yeah.
which is Cuckoo.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
the way to Cuckoo Cottage.
Yeah.
Across the boggy, horrible field. So that's that
Got it.
way, and then this way you're going to come round the side, all the way round, and then round this way, and down there to
Got it.
join up with
So
where
has
it
this
was
bit
before.
been taken off?
Yes, this all this.
But when we
Yeah.
had the argument with the woman, all she applied for was to get it moved 20 yards away from her front door. Now we're going
Yes, but
miles
this-
out.
Yeah, but now
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
been a big
Yeah,
diversion.
Yes.
So it's pretty useful.
Can I just ask a question? This is through to Cuckoo.
Mhm.
Is that, can you walk through that? The problem at one stage is that Cuckoo Cottage blocked it.
Yeah, well, no, it's not blocked now, but it's unpleasant. It's
Yeah.
just horrible because
I
I keep
think-
the horses.
I
in.
think on one of the property sites it says that it's under offer or it's been sold. Or
It's been on the market.
it's been on the market.
Ages.
Yes,
But-
that's well. It said in under offer or something.
Yeah, it says something, doesn't it? But it is, and it's boggy, but it's still it's
But
not
if-
flocked.
If the only footpaths that you can now use officially are these ones, it's totally absurd. It's like the diversion via Rye when they closed Swan Street or something. I mean, that's totally against the whole principle of PROWs.
But this was
Can't understand why they did that. All she wanted was to move it 20 yards and go past the other side of the garage.
And then she moved anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, that's bonkers.
Thanks very much, Yvonne. think I understand. But I agree with
Yeah, but
you.
it's not a worthwhile go down anymore.
Go around there to change news. This is
It does.
so
It
people
does
used to go right
smack of the
across
normal
the park.
diversions.
And then there was a star that took it through that way. Or
If you read the highways thing, to get from
with the
here to
Mhm.
Tesco, you need to go via
via
Claydon, Beckley,
That's it.
and
Newenden.
Newenden.
Get to James.
And the road is not
This
closed.
is the track
Hello.
that takes you
Hello.
out to Poplar
Yeah.
Road. So now you
It
can't.
was closed,
There's
though.
a star
One
there
afternoon.
into this
Oh, was it?
Yeah, the other, now when was it? A few
Friday.
days ago.
Friday.
A
Where
few
is
days
it?
ago, they closed it from about 2 o'clock until 7
Friday
o'clock.
afternoon.
Yeah,
What, to get to
Take
Tesco?
you round and then round.
In the middle of
just
Wittersham.
by Barry's
No, I know the water leak there. No, I'm thinking of
So it's a double the length of walk.
in fact, that made,
Yeah.
because Rolverton Lane was closed as well,
Yes,
Mm.
that actually made the diversion completely unworkable
yes.
if you lived in the road. You couldn't turn right from where the houses are. My mind's gone blank. Not Jubilee Fields,
Forge
Oh,
Forge Meads.
Meads,
You
yeah.
couldn't turn right
No.
from Forge Meads. And so to get to Tesco's, I think you could
That's the way
avoid
I'm
France,
practicing
but it was getting
Well,
close to
certainly
that.
coming back from Canterbury on Monday, I couldn't get through Carnarvonton, and I went to Tenterden. I couldn't get down the Small Hythe Road,
Yeah.
and then I couldn't get beyond Rotherham to Potmanty either. Well, you could because I went on the verge, but you couldn't theoretically get. So actually, we were cut off. We would have had to go via Rye to get home.
Well, that's
Yeah.
what they wanted you to do.
Yeah. Anyway, well, let's move on, shall we? More correspondence?
Yes, Outlook on Oxley request for a donation of £1,000. That's in the budget. It's their second.
And
So-
we agree to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the air ambulance, it's their annual one. They're asking for £400, but we've only actually got 100 left in the
That's what we usually do.
budget, and it's what, yes, we don't give them what they fully ask for, but we give them what we,
As you know,
Yeah.
I'd much rather it went to a homeless charity, but there it is.
But what we've done in the past was 100, I think.
and that's what we've got left in the budget anyway.
Well, we can't spend what we haven't got.
No.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Authorisation for payments.
I've seen that, and there's loads of stamps on it because a lot of the stamps, when it's been applications outside of the village, that's when I don't choose to deliver them, so it goes by post, and obviously then when you've got the ones that come in late, it goes first class, so it's more expensive. So I have more of those this last few months. And I've also got, because they're going up again,
Yeah.
that's why I got some yesterday, so
Yeah.
otherwise it's just paper and the usual. So if you're okay with that.
Yeah.
Yes.
I did get some more cartridges, but that will come out of just a separate one, that's £200 odd.
For the clarity of recording, they're not shotgun cartridges, are they?
Quite right.
Is there more to be said there, Yvonne?
No.
No.
And, okay, caretaker, working party reports caretaker.
Right. Mostly Alf and I have both been invited to Carnarvonton and Warehorn's annual parish meetings, which we usually have. I expect you've seen notices, well, people were complaining on next door about dog poo down the street in various places. I also had an email from Jane Beach in Woodland View to say that there was a definite problem, what was the parish council going to do about it. So I took it upon myself to get some stickers, please clear up after your dog, and I got some of those, which I'll be claiming back £10 worth, that have gone on the lamppost, so Alpha's gone round and put them on lampposts. Because I thought, what else?
What else can you do?
Exactly, because everybody knows
Yeah.
they should be picking up.
Yeah.
It's not as if people
Unless
aren't
they
aware.
catch somebody actually doing it.
Do we
Well, once again,
do we have any idea who the culprits might be?
I don't.
No, I don't
It'd be
know.
quite
See,
difficult
sure
to get away with
somebody
it
must
completely,
see
isn't it, without
something.
being seen.
and the thing is, other people also pick up after other people's dogs,
Yeah.
which is another thing that people will say, oh, don't matter, somebody else will clear that up. So it makes it really difficult. But I just thought that we were asked what we were going to do, so
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Sure, good.
Well, yeah, I did it actually.
Thank you.
As long as they don't leave the bag hanging on the fence once they've picked it up, it is even worse. Okay,
Right,
thank you for that. Finance?
finance, you all seen the statements?
I've seen that.
How often do we get those VAT refunds? Is it
Whenever I
quarterly?
apply for it.
Oh, I see. It's not sort of a
That's when I
standard thing.
apply for it. And I split it up, you can see I split it up
Of course, yeah.
so that it goes back into the
To the
caretaker
right ones,
fund,
yeah,
which,
sure.
which helps get that right.
Any observations? Okay, thank you. Would you like to join
You
me
need to
sign
sign
that?
it, I'm afraid you do, and later.
Just on here.
Yes, please.
I can't spell March.
See it? Thank you very much. And you've got the caretaker one, which just goes to show what we've got. Thank you very much.
Planning to sue, two decisions received, which is not a surprise, I think. Coombank, they were told they had to get the archaeologist, presumably because they were disturbing virgin ground.
I don't know what might be down there.
Don't know what might be down there. They've been granted anyway to where they didn't have to do much, because it's been granted. Open spaces, nothing. The ROWs we've discussed already, perhaps.
Yes, don't think we've got
Highways?
anything else.
But you know that one.
Yes.
Highways office?
There's nothing really, as I expected last time, by Mervyn and the Swan, the sort of the bits are all sinking there.
I think actually more worrying, unless it's just me, down at Peening Quarter, where the pond is, I only drive that way once a week now. The road just goes.
It does, yes.
It does.
It's slipping away.
Yes.
Slipping away.
Is it something we ought to be concerned about?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is definitely sliding.
Yes.
I avoid it now because it sets my ear off. That sudden
Does it?
change,
Yeah, exactly,
that
yeah.
sudden change
Yeah.
of whatever.
It's sort of around the one that put the big
barn,
brick
Yes.
entrance. It's just around there.
Near the Hope Farm, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anchor barn.
Yeah.
There's a pond.
Yeah.
And I'm
Well,
thinking that the
the
ground's
one
just.
on the edge of on the farm, the entrance to the farm.
It's very near there.
Yeah, there's one right on the entrance to the farm track. You know, at the entrance to the farm, there's a pond. There's a big pond
In
there.
their garden.
But the,
In the
Yeah,
garden, yeah.
yes.
Is that the one?
the depression in the
The
road to
road
the
just
corner.
goes.
Yeah.
It seems to be getting.
Yeah.
It's a sort of a
Mm.
semicircle around the edge of the
Yeah.
road.
I just wonder if it's just
It's
me.
not
No,
a
it's not.
pothole, it's just a whole lot sunk down. So as you drive along, the car does this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then you go on
actually
the other
should be
side.
reported.
That's I'm taking to go on the other side.
Yeah, no,
I think we all thought it was just us, but in fact,
Yes,
collectively, we
no,
think it's all of us.
Well, I mean, I must be in a dream.
Oh, you haven't spotted
Did
it.
you not go like this?
You're concentrating on driving under 40 miles an hour.
Yes, definitely.
So you can report
Yes, yeah.
that? Yeah, that's good.
Just to say that Sue's reported the water leak at
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Swan,
Yeah.
South East
So I
Water.
don't know whether it get repaired.
Is it in the road?
Yes,
Is it? Oh, where is it? In the Swan?
right on the corner.
On the corner.
But in Swan Street.
I mean, it was
Just.
quite a lot coming down.
Is that related to what happened last week in the main street? That burst water
idea.
main?
Probably to do with it, isn't it?
The
To
trouble
do
with water
with
is
all that.
it finds it's the weakest point. So if you strengthen and repair, it'll just trottle
Yeah.
on and find
Yeah.
the next weak point, which sounds
What happened
like it's in
before?
Swan Street, yeah.
Well, when they were doing the one by Barry's, I saw the South East Water guy with his thing for turning them on and off, doing them, the ones that are right at the top of Swan Street, the ones that had to be changed a couple of summers ago because they were all jammed up.
Mm.
And he also had a different tool where he could let water out of one of them just to get rid of any mud. And he was running that down the street. So if he didn't notice the water leak when he was standing, I haven't looked at it myself, while he was standing right next to it, unless it's just come later.
It wasn't leaking last week, was it?
Oh, okay. Well,
It's over the weekend.
It wasn't
started.
leaking last Thursday, and I didn't go out again till Sunday.
Mm.
By Sunday it was pouring down, so
Okay.
somewhere between Thursday and Sunday.
And of course, there's another water leak again at Pealing Quarter, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yes.
it's constant.
Constant there. Because
Mm.
does Mrs. What's her name allow people in now?
Not that I know of.
No, she didn't for some time.
That's why they didn't put the 40-mile-an-hour sign in, isn't it?
I thought you were the only person that actually knew her still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish I could remember her name. It
Um,
worries me.
You've mentioned her name in the past.
Yeah,
Yes.
and
Can't remember.
yeah. Anyway, we all know what I mean, but
Mm.
I can't remember. It's gone.
The nursery
It's the
lady,
P, I think.
isn't it?
Mm.
Anyway, so we'll move on. Yes. Cemetery, churchyard. Well, I had a call from Charlie Reeves, who's our sort of agent with the farming and
Oh, yes.
protected landscape, and perhaps as we might have predicted, suddenly, unexpectedly, any grant giving for FPIL was withdrawn. But he said not to worry because it will start again. But he did ask me where we were at.
So you told him.
So I told him we were waiting for this, in May. That I was frustrated that it had taken so long, but I would get back to him as soon as we had that. Tobias Jackson, who's the lead gentleman at Farming and Protected Landscape, had been asking after us, so that's optimistic. It seems that he's still got an interest. So I'm still optimistic we will get some money from them, although the current grant giving has been,
Yes.
they will, I'm told,
And
restore it.
those sort of grants are all getting pulled, I think. I
think
mean, in general,
we're
there's
going to
desire
spend more
to
money
spend, yeah.
on defence from now on, aren't we?
Oh, let's hope it'll be like Mr. Trump. Or withdraw it one day.
Give it back to
next week.
I missed that. Sorry.
Let's hope it will be like Mr. Trump. Withdraw it
Comes
one
and
day,
goes.
put it
Yeah,
back in the next week.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
If it's a Tuesday, it's withdrawn.
It sets the international example, and I'm sure the FPIL will follow this. Well, now we've got to the date of the annual parish meeting. We've got a date for that.
Mm.
As you know, it is the date I'm coming back from holiday, so I'm going to do my best. Anyway, I'm going to do my best.
Will we be providing refreshments to encourage people to come?
Well, as we did before.
We're going to have to put barriers up to keep the throng out.
And is Mike?
As far as I know.
Because he was hoping so much to drift off into retirement. Mike Hill,
County.
county councillor, but he's going to be here for at least another year.
Is he-
No.
No.
Are they going to have
he's-
elections?
Yes,
right.
he can
They got-
retire. He's
they got-
Oh, I do beg your pardon.
Yes, he's
Neil
lovely.
Bell is standing to replace him. I now remember this.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, no, he's actually. I got a leaflet.
Yes, I got one too.
I seem to be heavily leafleted by him, and he
Yes.
actually made a good
No, he
point.
lives in Midland, I think, Neil Bell, isn't he?
He's been, yes.
Yes,
Him and Claire.
and then also our MP's been very active on
Yes.
contacting us and giving us useful checklists of
From Oxfordshire.
What?
From Oxfordshire, where she lives.
Is she?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh.
I thought that at the time that she got elected, maybe she's moved,
She had a
she
house in
said she
Sittinghurst.
was somewhere down here.
Sittinghurst.
That's right.
But she now lives in Oxford.
Well, hopefully she's not claiming, I don't know, I got so muddled on
Three
the-
houses.
3 houses and prime residence and then holiday let, and it was the downfall of several, wasn't it? There you go.
So nothing more we need to say about the parish meeting.
I think so.
And did we decide to do refreshments?
Yes, yes, we always do.
Is that all right?
That was just to encourage you back from a holiday.
Come back.
I'm hoping that the chairman's catering assistant is going to be looking after us again.
Who is the chairman's catering assistant?
Apparently not.
I see.
I couldn't possibly comment on that, Minister.
Back to me.
Well, Mrs. Newton sometimes brings something.
Only the once.
Was the one only, was it? Did she say that?
She was asked to cater for large numbers.
Oh dear, how embarrassing. Oh dear, what can we do?
Eat it.
Misinformation, I'm afraid. Never mind.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's pass on quickly. Planning enforcement training. Did you go?
I went, yes.
Damn well good. I'm sorry I couldn't come.
Yes.
Really quite interesting, actually.
It was about my train. Yes. So I'm claiming that back.
Good.
My train fare back.
Well done, yes.
Yes, it was attended by Simon Cole, Roland Mills, who has obviously stayed at Ashford all his working life, I would say, because when I was clerk back in the 80s, he was a planning officer then.
I remember that. Yeah.
So he's still just moved up a bit. Yes, so it's him and Joe Alexander, who's the team leader. So Joe and Roland both gave presentations. Joe was very good.
Is
They
she
have-
Scottish?
Yes.
Yeah, I've met her.
They have 3 officers and 1 senior admin staff and a graduate who moves around the different departments. They have on average 420 cases a year and have 520 live at the moment. Enforcement doesn't necessarily follow a breach. To take it further is discretionary. They like to rectify rather than punish. They have the authority to enter land or buildings unannounced and the surrounding land with reasonable grounds for doing so. If not seen to be taking action, that doesn't mean that they condone it. So although they don't take any action, that doesn't necessarily mean they think it's all right. They like to solve issues through negotiation.
So far it's sounding very typical enforcement.
The parish is their eyes and ears, and they rely on us to tell them things. They don't have anyone else to go and check on things. So, yes, so that was
Conscious who?
I
basically.
tried very hard with the piggery down Bugs Lane, but we never, I mean, they did visit, but got nowhere.
What happened to the up Wittersham Road opposite where past the chickens on the left, at Wittersham Road, where the chap.
Yeah, he's got the planning permission for the
Yeah,
house.
yeah.
For an office block.
For an office
No,
block.
well he did, but that got changed to the house.
Oh, because the inspector
Yes,
agreed.
yes,
That's right.
yes, exactly the same design for the office, now a house.
And indeed the house that he wanted before it was going to be an office.
Yeah. Thank you. And thank you everyone.
There's one born every minute.
Chairman.
Chairman's conference report. Now, John and I went, and it was, I must say, quite entertaining. John took copious notes throughout, so I thought there was no need for me to do that. But now he's not here. And he was going to let me know what he said, what he noted down, but he hasn't.
Did you enjoy it? Should I put that down?
Yes,
Did you
yeah,
find it-
yes.
Did you find it useful?
And there was legal aspects and insurance aspects and
Was that the first one that John had been to?
yes.
So you could write down something like, in particular, the chairman found it particularly useful as
Yes.
it was the first one he
Yes.
attended in his capacity as
Yes,
chairman.
yes. It was accompanied by an old hack.
I used to go to them sometimes, they were good.
There was one chap who spoke, I'm sorry, I can't remember his name, I would have known at the time, but he spoke for an hour. But I must say, his delivery was very good. He didn't and ah once, and he spoke fluently, without notes. It was quite an achievement, I must say, it was quite an achievement.
But you don't remember who it was.
No, I've no idea who it was now.
Do you
And
know what it was about?
I couldn't give you any of the content either, because that's what Tom was making copious notes over.
Right.
But
After lunch.
I feel I absorbed quite a lot. Whether I can deliver it back to you, I don't think I can. But I did feel it's all usefully stored information for another time.
Right. We'll ask John next
Moving
time.
on.
I've got one more thing that I didn't put on. The ground that the climate auction is, what there.
Yes.
are doing. Kate was asking about a bench, and Roger Parker gave us, if you remember, a couple of 3 benches in all. So we've got a spare one. So I told Kate I might have one for her, but I wanted to ask Roger first whether he minded one that he'd given to us. But
Where is this one, the fixed one?
There's one just there, isn't there?
That's a picnic bench. It was just an ordinary bench he was after. So I've asked Roger, because he gave it to the parish council for use for the parish, and yes, he's quite happy that it should go
Where is it
there.
at the moment?
It's in the cemetery shed.
Oh yes. Oh, it's in the shed. Right, so whatever we find. Perfect.
So yes, but he's come back today and said yes,
Oh, that's good. Well done.
that would be. So I've now got to see whether it's what she wants.
Ideally, I think she's looking for a metal
Yeah,
one,
so
but-
it's not.
Mm.
But, so yes, that's.
Well, a lot of hard work's gone into the
Mm.
little garden there.
It has done, very good. And a lot of donations. I was at the climate meeting on Saturday here, for a couple of hours, I think, nearly, which was on transport and that sort of thing. It was a bit going around in circles, but it was made clear that they've had a lot of people coming along and putting a bit of effort in on the garden, and they've had the donations, the manure, the soil, I think, perhaps the plants, the stones. They've got flagstones in for a path. Bark, has it got? Or no, chippings. Someone was bringing chippings. So yeah, they've done very well. And a certain keen. I've got one other thing I was just going to mention. We had just a sort of an update of bits I've picked up. We talked last time about the briefing, informal briefing that John and I got at the Calc meeting in late January, from one of our members of Calc who is a county councillor, and he seemed to have picked up more stuff since we got the briefing from Mike Hill on unitary councils. One of the things he mentioned was that, he talked for quite a long time, that to get what the government is asking for, it looked as though existing boroughs might get split up. Because the government said they wanted, it's up to Kent whether they have, and Medway whether they have 3 or 4 unitaries to put forward. They want them to all be 500,000 or more population. And the only way you could do it was to chop them. Now the government have since been in the saying they do not aim to break boundaries, because they think all that will do is cause more confusion and mess and cost and delay. So based on that, I started tinkering around, and this is only just me seeing what the problems are in terms of sort of looking ahead. The first problem is that there are forecast for this year or last year 1,893,000 people in Kent and Medway. So if you want a minimum, if you really do mean a minimum 500,000, you can't get 4 because there's not enough people quite. If you really mean 500 is the absolute minimum. But anyway, 3 or 4, and I started messing around with the numbers. I've got the numbers of the population in all of them, and you can have a look at these if you wish. There's never a good answer to it. There's a suggestion of how you can do 3 and how you can do 4. One says split in 3 and one says split in 4, and when you look at it, ignore that. I put that in by mistake. The idea being that they've obviously got to be boroughs that are contiguous. You can't it can't be like Pakistan in 1947 when the country's got 2 lumps. So if you're assembling them, they've got to have borders in common, and you've got to then try and find numbers that work. And I was also trying to get ones that have similar style, if you like, similar aspects. So I went along the coasts and what have you. And the numbers, if you split it into 4, my version of it, there would be others, was putting Dartford, Gravesham and Medway together, 512,000, great. Sevenoaks, Tunbridge and Morley, Tunbridge Wells and Maidstone, 557. Great. This is doing 4. Dover, Folkestone, Thanet, running along the coast, only 370. And Swale, Ashford and Canterbury, 454. See, so you've got some smaller, some bigger. In percentage terms, just to give you a feel, for the percentages of the average, you've got Dover, Folkestone, Thanet at 78%, Swale, Ashford, Canterbury at 96%, and then Dartford, Gresham, Medway 108, and Tunbridge Wells, Sevenoaks and Maidstone 118. There's a reasonable spread, but they're all in groups that fit. If you said split it in 3, where you can definitely get them all over 5,000, then the way I got there was up at Dartford, Gravesham, Medway, but add in Swale, 668. Sevenoaks to Maidstone stays the same, so it's 557. It was always 557. Then Ashford goes in with an extra one. Ashford, unfortunately, goes with the coast, which I was aiming to avoid. Ashford, Folkestone, Dover, Canterbury, Thanet, 668. That's 106%, 88%, and 106% again. If you looked at the Ashford group, Ashford, Folkestone, Dover, Canterbury, Thanet, when you split it 3 ways, we would have a population in that setup of 4.8 times the one we've got at the minute, almost 5 times as many. I don't see how it will ever work. Also, if you look geographically, you've got the M2, you can go along if there's no traffic jam. You've got the M20, you can go along and curls up towards Dover. But look at that right-hand end where we would be. Start off down in where we are. I mean, obviously the offices are maybe spread around, I don't know. And then think of getting to Thanet. You're talking about big problems. Anyway, so that's all I was doing, was just looking at it. Yeah, just looking at it to see what they're faced with, because at the minute, the county and the 12 boroughs and Medway are supposed to be coming up with a proposal of either 3 or 4, and they're going to be they'll have political interests, no doubt, but they're going to be facing the same factual basis as I just was. There are numbers if anyone wants to have a look at them.
Thank you.
And it's, I don't think it's going to be tidy.
And the bulletin that you circulated said they've got to submit the full proposal by pretty much the end of November.
Yeah,
So
that's right, November,
the clock's ticking on that.
One final thing, I don't know that it's public knowledge, I'm probably speaking out of turn, but Stella was appointed as the new head of the primary school, Stella Chris.
That's the lady who's standing
She's
in
been
there,
acting
she
as
was
deputy
voted.
head and she thinks she's got the job now.
And was she the sort of number 2 before or something?
She had been deputy head, yes. And then she was temporary head, and now I think she's now permanent head. But there were other candidates, so
And she's doing well.
I think she's very, very good, actually. I think she is. But that may not be public knowledge, I just don't know. I assume it is, but it might actually not be.
I heard that through a channel that would be...
Don't tell them, can you do that? Oh, I know what we're talking about.
Alan, to rest assured, I heard that through a channel that would be deemed very public knowledge.
What?
No, the announcement.
Right.
I was informed by somebody who I would regard as being very publicly...
Well, you heard it from me now.
Yes,
true.
Yes.
Right.
You should tell Giles. You should tell Giles.
Giles gets some news out.
Yes, yeah, because his initiative with the music and music lessons and helping them on that.
Lindsay is doing service on Friday, isn't she? That was the plan anyway.
I didn't know. I was told, I don't know. Maybe it is Lindsay.
I heard it was Lindsay.
I heard it was Sharon. I did hear it was Sharon.
Oh, maybe it is. I heard that Lindsay was the intention, but maybe it wasn't.
Is that it?
I think we can switch off now, yes. Thank you, everybody. Is this a record? 8:30?
Brilliant.
Closing the meeting?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it